guys, RW here. Just finished making a shell prepper for a customer. Of course, I test them all. And I finally got a hold of some Federal, which is really my favorite ammo. And I want to show you how different the Crimp is from a Winchester. See how fat? Let's put them side by side so you can really observe. It's very thin, tight little bead, fairly deep. And this one's even deeper and fatter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what I have to kind of do when I'm making a shell prepper. Is I'm trying, I don't have access to every ammo out there, and I can't test everything, but I try to make it so it'll cut everything. So here, let's cut a Federal. Okay. Make sure that's all the way through. Yeah. Okay, and the little bungholio dime came out of there and everything. And it made a really nice, rounded, smooth cut. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it or not, but nice cut. Okay, what I want. Okay, I wish I had sent this one to Matty, 2009, because he was cutting Federal and wasn't cutting right. And I felt bad about that. So here's a Winchester. I'll try and cut that. Same thing. A lot more force to cut the Winchester. It's a tougher, chewier kind of plastic, softer. Just not my favorite ammo, but it's what I got. So I'm going round and round to make sure I try and get that bungholio dime cut off of there. Okay, and it did. Okay, cut the dime off of it. So, but it kind of, I don't know if you can see, but it's made it slightly pointier, just a little bit pointier, and it's messed up the convolutions just a little differently than it does with the Federal. Let's hold them side by side. Let's let you guys make sure this thing's focusing and everything like I want it to. Whatever. I think you get the idea. They're not the same, and even among this box, if I were to pull out a mess of them, I'm sure I would find some that look a lot thinner than others. Here, just side by side in the pack. See how skinny that Crimp is? See how fat that Crimp is? They're going to cut a little different on the tool. Since I got them here in my hand, let me just go ahead and put this back over here so you can see what I'm up to. Okay, and so here's the real skinny one. Low force, low cutting force, pretty easy to cut. Cuts pretty nice. I'm spinning it more times than I really need to because I want to make sure I got all the way through it. Didn't go all the way through it. The Crimp is deeper than the last one I cut. That's why I usually test, like about 5 shells per cutter to make sure that thing's cutting. And it's not, see? I just cut a Winchester and I cut a Federal, perfect. And now I got one where the bungholio dime is held up by just one convolution, just one little tab, which I can easily snap off with my finger. But it's not exactly what I want. And so here's the slightly fatter one, which probably has, I would imagine, not quite as deep a convolution. Again, I'll just rotate it a bunch of times to try and make sure I really cut through it good. Okay. And this one, the bungholio dime fell right off. So even among the same ammo, even among the same Federal, I'm getting different kinds of Crimp beads. I think that's the fatter one. I'm not sure. Yeah, and this is the slightly skinnier one that I had to go round and round and round. But look at how beautiful those little, I hope this thing's focusing. See how nice those are? Very nice. And then you look at a Winchester. See how scummed up that looks? It's the kind of plastic it is. It's just a whole different kind of softer, squishier plastic, and this is kind of a crisper, easier to cut kind of plastic, which is why I like these shells for wax slugs. But anyway, so here I've got a tool which I've cut 4 shells with, and it seems to cut, But I've had to pick the bungholio dime out of one of them. So now I got to think, okay, my customer's going to get this. He's going to try and use it. What kind of ammo's he got? Is it going to cut really well for him? So my next step is to usually put the blade just a little bit further forward before I ship it. And then I know for sure it's going to cut all the way through all the convolutions, but it will also it'll take away that wonderful, nice round bead, and it'll make it more of a V-shaped bead because it's going past the blade more. So it's kind of a, 6-in-1 kind of thing. That's why I made that video about adjusting your shell prepper. So, you guys can get it dialed in the way you want. And I guess the last thing would be to show you how this blade is positioned in here. It's just, I know this video is getting a little long, guys, but these things, I mean, this is a product. I sell hundreds of these things, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that I really do try my best to make every single one of them cut perfectly with your ammo. But whether or not that's going to happen is problematic. Oh shit, the blade came out with it. Oh well, now I can't show you where the blade was. Let me show you where I would position the blade. Okay, first of all, you notice it just took just the tiniest little bit of tip off the end of that. So before I ship it, I'm going to put a new blade in it. But I'll just show you. You go right up to where that intersects. Then you take a putty knife like this. I would push it down a little bit. The best way to do that so you don't hurt yourself is to hold the blade against it and push down against the blade and just push it into the wood a little bit. Now what that does is that gives you a tiny, tiny bit of clearance up at the top, and that'll make that nice, smooth, round cut. You just got to be sure when you're tightening it that you haven't slid the blade around. So what I like to do is just get that top right on there before it moves. Make sure I don't slide the top around a whole bunch. The clamp goes over the blade. You can see why I don't have to have my own cutter, because I cut so many darn shells I can barely fill them all. I've got boxes and boxes I need to fill with wax, and so I barely have time to cut them all. Okay. Now I want to show you how this one cut. Now that I've pushed the blade down more, it's changed the geometry of the blade enough. And look, when I push the blade down, like you saw me pushing it with the putty knife, look at the convolutions now. Different, huh? Almost like a factory perfect thing. There's still the crimp bead, it's still securing the wad, but it's just different, and it cut with much less force. So that little tilt down thing makes a pretty good sized difference. Here, let's go ahead and cut one of the Winchesters before I run out. I've only got 3 left of the Winchesters. There's a real fat one. Let's see how it cuts. So the tilt down thing is something I recommend if it's cutting your ammo right. If it's not, just go back to the way it was. But you can see much, much, much more force to cut this Winchester than it was to cut the Remington. Did a wonderful job of taking the Bunglio dime off, and it didn't make as pretty a cut. This is the cut. Hang on, let me see if I can make sure these things are focusing. This is the cut on the Remington. Okay, it's got a little bit of a V-ing right there, and a little bit of a bugling, but not bad, right? And this is the Winchester. You can see it bugles out a little bit, bells out a little bit, but you can see how ragged it looks. It's all nasty and ragged looking. It's just the plastic. And there's really no other way that I can make them cut. So I do a little fine tuning on them. I cut a few shells, I'll tweak it, I'll adjust it, and then this one's going to get a new blade in it before I ship it out, which means even more testing, right? So out the door it's going to go. And I go through a lot of ammo, which is okay because I like to shoot a lot. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Sorry it was so long, but I really wanted to capture the whole process so you guys can understand what's going on with the making and adjusting of these tools.